let's get to the players here, Connor. Rogers, I believe we're supposed to hear from Mr. Mahomes.
That's exactly right, Matthew. Great toss on no Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, other guys had to step up. I thought Taekwon and Hollywood and Juju did a great job of kind of filling some of those roles. But that's someone that's a huge part of our game plan, and someone that we're counting on to go out there and make plays against some of the man coverage that they played. And I thought guys did a good job kind of stepping up in those roles. But you could tell it took us a little bit to get going.
Waiver wired returns. We start with the wide receivers. That was Patrick Mahomes talking about their current wide receiver situation. As you look from the Friday game against the Chargers in Brazil, yes, that is right. Hollywood Brown had 16 targets. Now, to be fair, guys, a little bit of an unpredictable script when Xavier Worthy gets hurt essentially immediately, that the entire game plan had to change.
And you heard the broadcast. On the broadcast, they actually talked about this. Eisen and Kurt Warner talked about the fact that in talking with Andy Reid in pre-production meetings, their entire game plan was Xavier Worthy. Like, that's where, by the way, and Xavier Worthy was on the love list and was one of the guys that we talked about that we felt like that they could attack the Chargers deep, that was an area of emphasis. And so it sort of makes sense that once he went down, it was suddenly like, all right, well, who's the guy that we got that's closest to Xavier Worthy? It's Marquise Brown. And that's what's going to be the case here. Now, does he get 16 targets against the Eagles? I don't know. But I will say, I thought that even without Jalen Carter, I thought that the Cowboys had more success in the air than they did running the ball. You're going to have we expect an angry and motivated Jalen Carter to be back for the Eagles. We'll see it. We'll see about the suspension. But right now, my expectation is he plays this week, and so I think they're going to pass again this week, and I think they're going to pass starting with Hollywood Brown as long as Xavier Worthy is out, and we know Rashee Rice has 5 more games on the suspension.
Yeah, he should be rostered in every single league. A champion of the chubby leather daddies,
yes.
Hollywood Brown, all of a sudden now looking like a kind of wide receiver 2 type for the next little bit. A very leathery performance from Hollywood in Brazil.
I have Xavier Worthy. I just took a 0, and RotoPat defeated me despite me having one of the better scores in the week.
Yes, biggest loss of the week, actually.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, he had everyone go off. He had Josh
differential?
Allen.
Yeah.
No, he had Josh Allen. RotoPat had a great team. Just everyone went off on him. It's all right. That's all right.
The old Josh Allen excuse. I couldn't win. He had Josh Allen.
I mean, listen, that's who I had on my team last year. Josh Allen is a man of the champions, right? So who knows? Maybe he will once again lead a team in our league to a championship title. Proud Fantasy Life investor Josh Allen. It's just whatever. It's just one game. I think I lost week 1 last year as well. It's okay.
You like the Bengals?
I am like the Bengals.
Slow starter.
Slow
starter.
Right. I got 2 titles. Honestly, I could not win for the next 5 years, and I'm still good. I
Oh,
won 2.
my God.
I'm just saying.
Good Lord.
Please, I've won 2 of the first 3 years in this league.
Like the next 5 years?
I'm just saying, if I've got 2 titles in 6 years, that's still a pretty good mark.
Could you imagine the opening monologue of the draft after year 5 of no championship?
Yeah, I feel like that's what Patrick Mahomes goes into the Chiefs locker room every season. Like, guys, it doesn't matter if we don't win one for the next 5 years. We've already banked 3.
I'm just saying, I've got 2 titles, back-to-back titles. You guys have 0. I feel like the pressure is more on you guys from the fans than me. My base is looking for a 3-peat. But I've earned a little bit of a leash here as a general manager with the fans.
There's only one man.
You're Joe Shane. Yeah, come on. Yeah, come on.
What? That's ridiculous.
Matthew, there's only one man in the league who speaks exclusively in monologues around the league, so the pressure is on you, my friend.
Stop it.
The chat is chiming in. Kate Gemma said, the next 5 years, who is this guy?
Come on. I got a long leash. Come on.
Josh Burkowski, I'm pro Team Barry, but he needs to be humbled.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Xavier Worthy's injury hurts that, and there will be, unfortunately, we will not be able to get Hollywood Brown in our league because he is a chubby leather daddy, but he is 75% available in most leagues across it. This is somebody who had a 6.3 average depth of target in this one, which I think is exciting in this sense. It's a lot of short targets. Like, we know Hollywood Brown can get deep. We know he can do the deep stuff. I'm not worried about that. But the fact that they're using him on short and intermediate routes, just getting him sort of easy catches, trying to use his speed, get him in space, I think that's exciting in terms of trying to get him, multiple looks in PPR leagues.
Matthew, I think the call this morning was the most proud of you I've ever been, because we got to Hollywood Brown, and then we went to the second wide receiver, and you said, no. Cedric Tillman needs to be the next wide receiver on waiver wired, not these other guys. Cedric Tillman, 72% available off the week of 5 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown.
19% target share, 96% route participation for Club said. And you sit here and go like, okay, whenever there's a performance, you're sort of like, hey, why did this happen? Can it repeat? All he's done when he's been healthy and out there is earn targets at a very high rate. And so nothing that I saw from the Browns on Sunday makes me think this isn't repeatable. As long as Joe Flacco is the quarterback, and honestly, like, the reason the Browns lost last game have nothing to do with Joe Flacco. Like, all of our jokes aside on this show is that Joe Flacco was competent. Joe Flacco ran that offense. Seriously, and is he the long-term answer at quarterback for them? Of course he isn't. But like, they should have won that game, and the reason they didn't had nothing to do with Joe Flacco. The 2 interceptions weren't his fault. They bounced off their receivers' hands, right? You know, and if their kicker makes a field goal and an extra point, right?
The kicking issues,
they're winning
insane.
this. They're winning this game, and so at the Ravens, home to the Packers, at the Lions, home to the Vikings, at the Steelers, really tough defenses. That's one challenge here, but they're going to have to be throwing. I don't think they'll be able to run against these teams, not against the Ravens, the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, the Steelers. So they're going to have to throw, and maybe it's some junk time here, but over his last 5 full games, dating back to last season, he's averaging over 18 fantasy points per game, Jay.
Yeah, and he's routinely outperformed Jerry Jeudy. There's a real chance that Cedric Tillman's the number 1 wide receiver for an NFL offense that, to your point, like Flacco, even though his stats weren't good, I agree. Joe Flacco, I thought he played well. He's against the Bengals. We'll see. Yeah. Although, like the Ravens, I guess it's Josh Allen, but the Ravens' pass defense didn't look amazing. Jair Alexander was getting absolutely toasted. It's not like he's getting toasted by Peak Jamar Chase either. So I think that the Browns will be able to move the ball through the air.
Try to tighten up. Raise your hand if you can't add Cedric Tillman because you already drafted him.
Let's go.
Sounds like somebody
there you go.
Listen to the show.
Yeah, try to tighten up. There you go. Listen, Club Set has been a favorite of you and I for a long time, and I always say this. The reason I'm a big fan of Cedric Tillman is because Connor Rogers turned me on to Cedric Tillman when he was drafted.
I think if he didn't have the significant concussions at the end of last year and actually got to finish out the season, he would have been a thing this summer, but everybody just kind of forgot about him because he was hurt at the end of the year. But Club said,
and I think there was questions about the Cleveland offense. I think people are just sort of like, this is going to be a disaster. They got 4 quarterbacks. They don't really have 1 quarter. I think a lot of that. And I'm with you. The Bengals defense made it look a lot easier than the Ravens, Packers, and Lions defense are going to. But still, this is a team that, as long as Joe Flacco has been quarterback for them, go back to 2 years, they chuck it.
Yeah.
Stefanski wants to throw.
And he kind of has to throw as well.
Yeah,
he kind of has to.
How the script is going to flow. One of the surprises of the first week, guys, is not how well Justin Herbert played, but how much the Chargers threw the ball in this Greg Roman offense, Matthew, where we have both of their wide receivers on waiver wire this week. Keenan Allen at 50% available, so there's a good chance he might not be available in your league. Quentin Johnston we'll get to in a second, who's available in 91% of leagues. But all of these guys essentially got to eat in Brazil.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, and not only were the Chargers, in terms of pass rate over expectation, high, they were the highest in the NFL by a wide margin. Shout out to my friend Ben Gretsch, who does a great job tracking all this stuff. So Ben is the one who sort of turned me on to that. And so shout out to Ben Gretsch, who follow him at Yards Per Gretsch on social media. He does a great job, Ben does. But anyway, the fact is like, the Chargers became a throwing team, and I don't know if that's because the Chiefs, that's how they felt like they had to defeat the Chiefs. But like, if they're going to throw, even if they don't throw as much as they did on Friday night, but they throw more than we expect, right? Because we would expect a Harbaugh, Greg Roman team to be a run heavy. Like, this is pretty interesting. 78% route participation for Keenan Allen, 29% target share. His last 8 games dating back to last season, he's averaging over 16 fantasy points per game. We just talked about in the offseason that Keenan Allen not having a team wasn't because he was done. It was because, honestly, he wanted, at this stage of his career, he wanted to go to a team where he wanted a certain amount of money. There were a lot of teams that didn't want to pay the amount of money that he wanted. He wanted to play on the West Coast. And he wanted to play for a contender. And so it took a while, but eventually, being reunited with the Chargers made sense, and obviously, the money was good for him. West Coast team, that he's familiar with the quarterback, and he knows they're going to be, a playoff contender.
I think he's a super interesting player because there's a couple of things. We got a question here from VedP, Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnston, who's the better pick? I think it's Keenan Allen,
yes.
and the reason why, there's a few things. One, 2022, 2023, Keenan Allen was awesome. We're in the Chargers offense. He had a bad year last year, but it was in a bad offense, new system, everything. He looked slim, he looked quick. On Friday night in Brazil, he has an established rapport with Justin Herbert.
Yes.
And here's the other big thing, is that Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman talking about they want to run the ball, they want to pound the rock. Your actions speak louder than words. And since the second half of last year, they were throwing the ball a ton in the second half of last year.
Yeah.
They only ran the ball a lot in the first half when Herbert's coming off the plantar fasciitis in the preseason and he was banged up as well. Since he's gotten healthy, they have thrown the ball as much as anyone in the NFL, and that carried in. They had a 98th percentile pass rate over expectation against the Chiefs, and it just makes sense. You got one of the 6 best quarterbacks on the planet. Let him cook. Put the ball in his hands. So I think that Keenan Allen's going to be a wide receiver 2 in an elite passing offense.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't have a stat on this. I think Quentin Johnston's going to be popular on waiver wires this week, and he should be picked up, right? Because the 2 touchdowns. But it's like a busted coverage, right? And I just sort of think to myself, he also had drops in this game, which has plagued him throughout his career. And I just sort of think about, again, I go back to forget stats. Just think about people. This is the second year of the Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman regime, right? They drafted Trey Harris. They drafted KLS. They drafted Ladd McConkey last year.
Yeah.
They drafted Ladd McConkey. They signed Keenan Allen this year. The only guy in that wide receiver core that they sort of inherited was Quentin Johnston. And I know that he had the flashy game and he had the 2 touchdowns. He got the 7 targets, 5 for 79. But I don't know. If you're asking me Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnston, I'm saying Keenan Allen. Yep. I think his role is more secure. I could see as Trey Harris gets up to speed, I could see him. I feel like QJ's role is more in jeopardy with Trey Harris or KLS.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think what was interesting in this game is going back to how much they passed over expectation is they also ran 10 personnel, just 1 running back, no tight end, 5 times in this game, something they didn't do in the past. So they're looking to get more wide receivers on the field, and maybe that inspires some hope for QJ to still stay impactful. But I think the bottom line is in this situation, you have a better chance of getting QJ. There's a good chance Keenan Allen's not in your league, where he might be worth a flyer at this point because you won't have a lot of options.
Yep. I think just broadly as well, I just think you want to get as many shares of this Chargers offense as possible.
Yes.
There is such a history going back of quarterbacks really taking a leap in year 2 of an offensive scheme, which just makes sense. It just becomes more innate. Everything is more automatic. Justin Herbert looked so comfortable against a pretty good Chiefs defense on Friday night. He just torched them. They had no chance whatsoever. He is, I think, on talent, a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the NFL. If they're going to give it to him and let him throw, also let him
run a little bit too. He ran more. He's fully healthy, and so I think he's probably more of a top 8 quarterback in the NFL on talent than top 5 or 6. But you got him 6. That's fine. But I'm just saying. But he's right there. Yeah. Yes. And given where he went in drafts this year. Because I think people, and I'll raise my hand as being one of those people that had him, that didn't have him as a top 12 play this year, for sure. I think Herbert is legit fantasy-wise, and I think you're right on the theory of try to get as much of this offense as you can get. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.